That time Rimuru got a daughter. By Asora09. The teddy bear incident. Shizu's perspective. So, what do you want to do about Ifrit? Rimuru-san asked as we gained some distance from the building we were having lunch in a couple of minutes ago. My eyes widened a bit when he mentioned that name. I was yet to tell him about Ifrit, but he seemed to be already well informed on the topic. It doesn't surprise me that much, though, as he had already hinted at that when he took me away from Caval and company. The surprise was certainly lower than when a wild storm dragon appeared. Thinking about Veldora-san, I wonder what happened to him. Neither his nor Raylichan's screams can be heard anymore. Did they escape? The frozen smile pasted on Sealson's face when she began the persecution flashed in my face for a second. No, definitely not. If anything, she might have let them go. Yeah, it is impossible to think anybody could escape that creepy smile of hers. My, could it be that you're thinking something really rude right now, I wonder? I heard a wry voice behind me. Ah, the demon. I jumped back while turning around, and unintentionally shouted such a thing. Snap! A vein appeared on the demo, Sealson's temple. He. Sealson began laughing eerily as she turned to face Rimuru-san. Darling, could we dispose of her right now? In the original time she wasn't of any use, after all. I couldn't understand one of her words, but Sealson's face completely turned into one of a demon. She is looking at me as if saying, hey, you thought something rude, didn't you? I started sweating bullets as I averted my gaze from her. Now, what could she mean disposing of me? No, that part is pretty clear. Is she hostile toward me, then? I raised my guard a bit. The interesting thing is that Sealson said that I wasn't of any use, but when exactly is she talking about? When we were with the giant ants, perhaps. Anyway, how did Rimuru-san respond? Well, of course not, you mad woman. And stop smiling in such a way. You are scaring the hell out of everyone. It is the first time I've heard Rimuru-san raise his voice. That said, he didn't look mad at all, perhaps only a bit irritated, if anything. Why yes, sniff, I am sorry, sniff. Sealson looked down dejectedly as she fidgeted around with her hands and fingers and began to sob lightly. She looked like a puppy who had just been scolded for causing a ruckus inside the house. Furthermore, she was muttering to herself, I am reflecting, over and over again. Hero. I turned to look at Rimuru-san. Yes, in stories, the one who defeats the demon is always a hero. And you, don't fan the flames anymore. You shouldn't be calling other people, demon, like that, you know. Rimuru-san now turned toward me and started scolding me as well. I was a bit rude indeed, wasn't I? Why yes, sniff, I am sorry, sniff. My reply was exactly the same as that of Sealson. I turned to the side for a second, and she had an expression that clearly read, comrade musical note, perhaps from a sense of camaraderie from being scolded. Snap! A vein pulsed in my forehead. Cut it out. Both of you, Rimuru-san admonished. Now it was his turn to have a vein throbbing in his temple. Ha! He sighed deeply as he looked at Sealson and I. It's good to see you are back, Seal. What happened with Veldora and Riley? They ran away toward the ogre village. Sealson replied without any of her usual speech quirks, namely her, my, and, ufu. It seems she really is reflecting about her recent attitude. Okay, I guess while you don't leave them unconscious and alone in the forest, everything's alright. Sealson averted her eyes at Rimuru-san's reply. Seal. Rimuru-san called the name of his wife as his voice gained a tone that made it sound uneasy. Sealson started sweating coldly while looking at the sky, as if trying to say, ah, look, the sky is blue, how interesting. Spoiler alert, Rimuru-san didn't buy it. His gaze stabbed deeper into Sealson, causing her to start looking around uneasily. I might have knocked Veldora out, but I am sure he will be alright, ha 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 ha. Oh, I see, ha 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 ha. Sealson and Rimuru-san began laughing. That said, neither of them was smiling. In fact, Sealson's expression was gradually losing color, while another vein popped on Rimuru-san's forehead. You idiot. Hi, I am sorry. Sealson started running around the place, and Rimuru-san chased out behind her. At some point, they went out of my line of sight, and I stood all alone in the street. Or well, there were some monsters near me, but they were too busy paying attention to the screams that could be heard to notice me. Stop running, you overconscious AI. Ah, He caught up. How can you be so smart and so dumb at the same time? No, don't do tot. That's a weak spot. A weak spootttt. That was followed by a series of slapping sounds, and a, hi. Darling, I am sorry, so please forgive me already. Quote. I was just standing there perplexed while I waited for them to come back. The other onlookers simply smiled gently at the figure of the two being like that. Are they perhaps accustomed to this type of scene? After a couple seconds of waiting, I started hearing footsteps, and when I turned to look over, I could see a very, mentally, exhausted Rimuru-san, being followed by a woman with silver head and red eyes who was rubbing her butt with one hand, in pain. To think he would go as far as to give me a butt spanking. I could hear such a mutter coming from her as she looked at Rimuru-san resentfully. Wait, no, there's something else in that smile, expectation and excitement. No, it's probably just my imagination. I started sweating heavily when I considered the other possibility. No, there's just no way that she's like that, right? I am sorry for showing you something so unsightly. As I was heavily pondering about that possibility, Rimuru-san approached me as he bowed slightly. No, don't worry about it. Well, thanks for that. Now, shall we go ahead and talk about Ifrit? Rimuru-san called back the topic we were talking about a few minutes ago before everything turned into a big mess. I nodded, and then Rimuru-san instructed us, Seal-san included, to move into a more isolated part of the forest. It was not part of the village, but it was still an area that had been completely rid of trees. It was perfectly circular, so it felt like an island surrounded by a sea of trees. It was as if the trees were scared of growing in this area. Rimuru-san, why is this area so free of trees? I couldn't help my curiosity and decided to question him about it. Yeah, well, you see, this is a piece of land that really destroyed back when she first started learning to use her skills. Quote. I stopped walking. Rimuru-san and Seal-san started looking curiously at me, but I couldn't help it. This circular area had about a radius of 50 meters, and you are seriously telling me that all this was made by Lil, cute Raylichan. How strong is that little girl, really? I mean, I had already seen her strength to a certain extent when she saved us from the giant ants, but the destruction back then was nothing compared to what Rimuru-san described. It really is a bad idea to make an enemy out of these guys. I finally came back to my senses and stared at Rimuru-san. Rimuru-san, I swear to never become your enemy in the future. Okay. Same here. Rimuru-san sounded very bewildered. He probably wasn't able to track my words back to my line of thought. I resumed my walking and now stood side by side with Rimuru-san and Seal-san. We continued walking a bit until we reached the center of the circular area. It was a beautiful place, to be honest. If you ignore its tragic backstory, then all you can see is a wide clean area with bright green grass and flowers. But now is not the time to think about this. That's right. Right now it's time to discuss the Ifrit matter. What I want to know more specifically right now is, Rimuru-san, how did you know about Ifrit? I decided to speak up first as we all sat down cross-legged on the grass. I was sitting in front of Rimuru-san and Seal-san, who were snuggling close to each other. They really are close. Wait, now's not the time for that. Well, I sensed it. That's it. Sensed it. Nobody has ever sensed it before though, so can you please not say it as if it's nothing? I thought. Although that's wrong. There have been two people in the past who have sensed Ifrit inside of me, Demon Lord Leon and the hero who rescued me. So you are at the same lofty heights as those two. But well, it doesn't matter how I know about it either way. What is important is what you want to do now. Rimuru-san resumed talking as Seal-san rubbed her cheek against his chest like a cat who wanted attention. No, rather than that, she resembled Raylichan earlier. I can also sense that Ifrit inside of you is going wild, right? You might end up losing control over him very soon. I nodded briefly. He has completely seen through my situation. I think I might be able to do something about it. My eyes widened as I looked at him in surprise. But well, that depends on what you want. If you don't want me to interfere, then I won't. Rimuru-san removed his glance from me and turned to look at Seal-san, who was leaning on him right now, with her face stuck to his chest. He gave her a pat on the head, and she murmured, he, like a spoiled child, or a cat, as her eyes turned joyful. I don't feel this is the time and place to be flirting, though. Quote. What would you gain from all of this? I questioned his intentions. I can feel he is not a bad person and that he doesn't have any hostility toward humanity despite being a monster, but even so, helping out of mere kindness is not something that a lot of people in this cruel world would do. Let's see. Rimuru-san brought a hand to his chin as he appeared to be deeply in thought. Seolnyeon pouted as she lost the attention of Rimuru-san, and started tugging on his sleeve. It is quite amazing how easily her personality changes. From what I've seen, she has gone from motherly, to wifely, to reliable, to scary, to battle-headed, to unreliable, to pervert, no, that isn't confirmed yet, and finally to spoiled. Just how many characters does she have? I would become your friend, I guess. While thinking about Seolsan's extremely weird situation, Rimuru-san finally responded as he scratched his head. I stared at him for a moment as if to confirm the truthness in his words. That said, I was being completely ignored, as he immediately shifted his attention towards Seolnyeon, who was looking at him in expectation. He complied while saying, there, as he patted her head once again. She, meanwhile, moved her right arm around his neck and changed her posture into a Princess Carrie, laying on Rimuru's crossed legs. I would really appreciate it if you didn't ignore me in order to flirt with each other. This is supposed to be a matter that will decide my future, you know. Wait, now's not the time to worry about that. Right, I was about to ponder if Rimuru-san has any hidden intentions. I returned my gaze to Rimuru-san. What are you, a cat? Rimuru-san asked as Seolsan changed the posture of her hands to one that resembled cat paws, with her fingers bended in a claw-like shape. Neon, heart. Rimuru-san seemed to blush a bit at the answer that he definitely wasn't expecting. I am totally just the third wheel here, aren't I? Rimuru-san. Yes. I called out to the husband of the flirting couple and he immediately turned to look at me. I cannot sense any ulterior motives for wanting to help me, so, if it's alright with you, I would like to ask for your help. I bowed to him, it's only natural to do so. I am shamelessly asking for his help even though he gains nothing from it. Well, he said that he wanted to be my friend, is that really good enough, though? But, well, I guess there is nothing more that this guy needs. Overwhelming power, a territory under his rule, followers, a beautiful wife and daughter. I can't think of anything else that he might want. Wealth. No, he doesn't really seem to care about it that much. Okay, but you must keep your side of the deal and become our friends, okay? I slowly nodded as he placed Seolnyeon aside and stood up. Seolsan looked at him with puppy eyes very similar to those of Raylichan earlier, but this time Rimuru-san didn't budge. He seems to be a bit more doting to his daughter than to his wife. I could hear him mutter, I'll spoil you a lot more later, so just wait for a bit, okay? To her, which caused her eyes to narrow joyfully and her body to start fidgeting shyly on the ground while saying, ah. Perhaps today is the day it will happen. Kya, and blushing. These two really are something. I thought. Okay, let's begin. Rimuru-san looked to be blushing a bit as well, but I decided to ignore it for the time being. I think that definitely is the right choice. Anyway, Rimuru-san extended his right hand forward and said, Spirit summoning. Come forth, Prime Spirit, Fultia. Hollow diamond, hollow diamond, hollow diamond. Rimuru's perspective. The moment after I said the summoning spell, a red circle appeared in front of me. The intense light of the magic formation painted the surroundings black. And inside of the center, a figure was gradually appearing. It only took a few more seconds for her to completely appear. A woman completely clad in flames. Her hair looked like the personification of fire itself, being a mix of red and orange and that reached down to her waist. She had bright red eyes that seemed to be burning, and was wearing armor that looked to be made of living flames. The prime spirit of fire, Fultia, was now kneeling before me. I'm at your orders, my lord. She brought a hand to her chest as she bowed respectfully. It has been a long time, Fultia. Good to see you're doing well. Just as I said, I had already met with Fultia before. No, not only her, I have actually already met the rest of the prime spirits too. It is not like it was willingly, though. I was just one day in my office, when suddenly those guys appeared out of nowhere and began kneeling before me, offering me their efforts. A prime spirit is basically the equivalent of a primordial demon, but for spirits. They are the strongest of all spirits, and even among primordial beings, they are quite the exceptions. For example, unlike primordial demons, whose recollections and memories are different in every timeline, prime spirits exist in a place isolated from space and time. where they carry out their duties established by Veldanava himself, so they simultaneously exist in any timeline and world. That's the reason Fultia recognized me as her lord, because she remembers introducing herself to me in the original timeline. On the other hand, if it had been one of my primordial demon subordinates, in the original timeline, like Testarossa, she wouldn't recognize me, as we haven't met on this timeline yet. I appreciate the thoughtful comment, my lord. Well, don't mind it. Also, don't be so stiff, okay? I am going to be asking for your services for some time, so it would kind of make me uncomfortable if you don't relax a bit. I understand. Fultia stood up from her kneeling posture. I looked around and saw Shizusan staring at me wide in shock. Did I do something wrong? Oh, that's right, let's begin with introductions. I understand what you were thinking, Shizusan. I sent her a thumbs up to indicate, I figured out what you wanted. But she just started at me cluelessly. Shizusan, she is the prime spirit of fire, Fultia. Fultia, she is Shizusan. It's an honor to meet you. Are you perhaps my lord's mistress? Nian. What are you saying? I am not. Rimuru-san is a married man, to begin with. That's right. What is she saying all of a sudden? No, where did she even get that idea from to begin with? No, even more than that, why is Seal still on cat mode? I see. I apologize for my rudeness. Then, are you my mistress? Fultia turned to look at Seal, who was still sitting on the grass. In her mouth, there was now a salmon sandwich that she had taken out of who knows where. She gulped the piece that remained in a single bit, and then introduced herself. Yes, I am. I am the forever young, ever beautiful, ever charming, Cielcha. Cut it out. I gave her a karate chop directly to the head. I am sorry, but I got annoyed. I could hear her mutter, "You, so violent," while looking to be on the brink of tears. Wait, just now, did she just make an excited expression? No, don't tell me. Now's not the time to be thinking about that. Fultia, this right here is my wife Seal. I see. It's an honor to meet you, my mistress. Fultia bowed respectfully toward her. Same here, said Seal. It looks like she had already regained her composure. Now, for what I summoned you here, I was about to explain the matter with Shizusan and Ifrit, but someone kicked me to the punch. You are here to be my personal maid. Magical girl Cielchan struck a pose worthy of her position as magical girl, making a peace sign over her right eye and spinning on the spot. I wonder how it is possible for her to change character so quickly. It is certainly a mystery, but there are more important things right now. That's right, now it's time for. I told you to cut it outttt. I gave her another karate chop to the head. Darling, your love is too intense. Yeah, she's definitely messed up somewhere, I thought.